Hello chat. So right off the bat, before I start the video, this is a re-upload, kinda. For those who have watched both parts, this is a re-upload. For those who haven't seen a single video and were blessed by the algorithm, this is a big video of my entire JoJo journey. The first video consisted of parts 1 through 3, while the second video was 4 through 6. The second video is my magnum opus, while the first one was just fine. Regardless, for those who watched both parts, this video also contains my final thoughts on JoJo and verdict after rewatching part 1. So in that case, if you want the part 3 of this series, so to speak, just skip to the time on screen right now. If you want the entire cut up journey, the video will begin now. I need watch time. So yeah, see you in like 50 minutes or some stuff, I don't know. So, starting off with Phantom Blood, part 1.
Why would you say something? Because I hate you!
Phantom Blood was surprisingly fun. I went into it being intrigued to see how the show will unravel over all of the parts. It started off with a really good opening, artistically, and while the song isn't one of my favorites, I appreciate the singer's vocals. As for Phantom Blood itself, it's a very straightforward story that introduces the big bad, the supernatural elements, and introduces Hamen as a mechanic. And let me say, it was nice to see some simple fight scenes in the first part, after being bodied by Jujutsu Kaisen's overly complex cursed powers and curses and all that stuff. Even Chainsaw Man as well. It was nice to see something simple as Hamen. But yeah, besides that, part 1 introduces the world itself really and the Joestar family. Naturally, it also introduces Dio, which upon finally seeing him in action, the first thing I said to my friend was, I aspire to be the hater that Dio is. Dio was so fucking good in part 1, I love that pettiness so much. In fact, now in retrospect after finishing part 3, I think he's better in part 1 than 3 because he has more screen time. Well, screen time is kinda whack, because part 1 has only 9 episodes. 9 damn episodes. When Jonathan Joestar died in episode 9, I was like, huh? What? Okay. So, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Part 1 story is simple and effective. It introduces the lineage, introduces Hamen, and the supernatural mask and everything related. It ends on a good note, in my opinion. Jonathan is a very simple protagonist, but he isn't bad. He isn't anything incredible, but he's likable. The real standout of part 1 was, for me, in fact, Zeppeli. Speedwagon was also great, but I loved Zeppeli a good chunk. And the fights were very solid. Again, Hamen is a simple but fun concept. So yeah, that's really the gist of part 1. Again, it's really only 9 episodes, but it was a fun ride. I give it like a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. It just needed about like 9 more episodes or something like that.
4 bodyguards! 5 bodyguards! I drink it every morning so I can fight like a crowd!
Part 2, Battle Tendency. Now we get to part 2, which admittedly is kinda peak. In fact, I'd say it's absolute cinema. But before we really get into it, the opening. God damn the opening. The opening is so good. It's easily S tier. I listen to that on loop right now and god damn is it good. As for the part itself, it has a very good story overall and starts off insanely strong with Joseph Joestar being godly right from the get-go. Joseph Joestar, my beloved. The main bad guys of this part are the Pillarmen, which awaken due to angry Germans. I didn't want to say the word due to YouTube. But anyways, the Pillarmen, I think they're absolutely great. In fact, over the course of part 2, in its entirety, I was like, okay, Dio is fine, but they're just 17,000 times better. Suntan is fine, AC/DC was also fine, and served his purpose, also had great fights. But Wamu and Karst are the real highlights. The premise itself of Joseph rage baiting them into letting him live just so he can prove he can beat them is just so funny to me. But yeah, Wamu and Cars are very different when it comes to the ending section. Wamu honored everything, including Caesar, and letting him send that bubble out of respect, and Cars at the end, during the final battle, just doesn't give a shit and pulls a 1v100. So yeah, safe to say I like the Pillarman a good chunk. Oh, and the music. To this day, my favorite JoJo song right now is Awaken. It's so fucking good. As for the other characters, as mentioned, Joseph is goated. Lisa was cool as shit, but I wish he had more fight scenes. Caesar was amazing up until his death, his death was great and emotional, don't get me wrong, but the conflict that led to his death, it was kinda bad. Like it felt like it was conflict for the sake of conflict. I knew he was gonna die when he went alone. Regardless, part 2 was a banger. Its comedy was also infinitely better than 1, and just overall it felt great. It didn't overstay its welcome and had great villains fighting a great protagonist. Oh, I forgot about Stroheim, also a goat. So yeah, battle tendency is an easy 9 out of 10. Maybe 9.5, the other parts aren't as good. Now we move on to Real JoJo. Part 3, Stardust Crusaders.
You leave Philly and bad shit happens. I mean, trees? Everywhere trees? What the hell is this place? All right, I'm hitching a ride back home.
Part 3 is the part where stands get introduced. Personas, one might say. Hell, unironically, the show has stands, personas, that are based off of tarot cards, arcanas. So, yeah. Can't believe they shamelessly copied Persona 4 Revival many years ago. Truly shameful.
Huh?
But yeah, JK, stands were at the start kinda okay. I remember I straight up told a friend, they're fine, but I prefer Haman because they're simpler. Over time, with how different and unique certain stands were, like Death 13, Hanged Man, and Vanilla Ice, they grew on me, especially Death 13, and I think that's unironically my favorite stand, or at least top 3. With that being said, Part 3's protagonist in Word Alone is Jotaro. And he is fine. He is not bad by any means, but I swear he doesn't even feel like a protagonist. This part had a heavy emphasis on Joseph the Goat from Part 2 and Polnareff the Goat. They felt like dual protagonists because they had infinitely more screen time and fights compared to Jotaro. And Jotaro only sweeps in to be overpowered and win the fight. Like, I'm not saying he's bad. He's okay. He's fun at times. It's just that he doesn't do anything. There are a few episodes which he does something in, especially the gambling ones.
Yes. Yes. Oh my god.
But even still, I don't know. He's okay. He's better than Jonathan only in the sense of quantity. If Jonathan had more episodes, he'd be better than Jotaro. Star Platinum is a cool stand though, I agree. Besides that, there's Kakyoin. I really like Kakyoin. He was neat. His death was rather unfortunate, but the way he helped the gang beat Dio was cool. Plus his theme song is easily my favorite character-specific theme song so far. Mohammed Abdul. Yes, he is.
Mohammed Abdul!
Yes, I am.
He is decent. I liked him a good chunk. His first death was a wake-up call to Polnareff, which led to an actual arc, and then when we saw him alive, that was fucking funny. The way everyone shrugged it off. Oh yeah, he's alive, we knew that. But yeah, great cast. Phenomenal cast. But am I missing someone? Naturally, the other stand users, the villains of the day type stuff, but besides them, we got the big bad, Dio. With Zavarudo. I think the finale of Part 3 is a godsend, I really do. It was tense, it was great, it was Kino. But I'd say Part 3 starts off as an A to S tier, then goes into B tier during the second season where they get to Egypt, and up until the fight with the gambling brothers and the gaming gambler, and then the other ending stuff like the Vanilla Ice fight and Dio himself. Then it goes back into S tier. It feels really, I don't know. It peaks and then drops and then peaks. Oh wait, I forgot about Icky. Holy shit, I fucking hated Icky. But his adoption was very nice to see, albeit predictable. Still probably my least favorite cast member of all of JoJo so far. I just hate that stupid fucking face. First dog character to be bad in all of media, in my opinion. So, yeah. I mean, part 3 was rather flawed, but all of the fault lies within the pacing. Had the part been only like 30 episodes instead of 48 episodes, I think that would have cut a good amount of unnecessary fluff, and yeah, the fault really feels to me like just the 2-parter episodes in the second season especially felt unnecessary. If they were 1-parters, way better. Just flat out way better. Still, part 3 was heat. I'd say it's between an 8 and an 8.5. If it was shorter, definitely on par, if not better than part 2. And here we are. That's all she wrote. Overall, I think JoJo was absolutely great. It's a solid start. Each part felt refreshing, connected, but still isolated, and I am hyped to see how it'll keep going. Part 5 is definitely the one I am most hyped about. Even before watching part 1, I was excited to see part 5 the most. So I guess we'll see. We'll see if I'll be biased. Part 4 is next, and I will start it likely tomorrow as of writing this script. As of editing, guess I'm gonna tease what I think of it potentially.
私の名は吉良義景、年齢33歳。自宅は森王町北東部の別荘地帯にあり、結婚はしていない。
Overall, the absolute goats of the show are Joseph, Polnareff, Zeppeli, Lisa, Wamu, Kakyoin, and Seiza. I am in love right now. I can tell by the time I am finished, JoJo will be my favorite anime. It still isn't. Champloo and Kill la Kill both share the same spot, but I feel like the quantity will beat out the quality. Guess we'll find out. Guess we'll get there next year. We got 4, 5, and 6 next. See ya and take care. Bye bye. Now then, time to truly see if minerals are destroyable.
We are living our lives. Although with so much information.
Good morning! おはようございます。森尾町レディオ。今日もお相手は私、あなたの隣人甲斐原田。すがすがしい朝ですね。そんな一日の始まりにふさわしい曲です。今朝の一曲はこちらから。
Oh boy, this is a weird part. Diamond is Unbreakable. It is, spoiler alert, the part I am most mixed on. There are times where it reaches maximum peak, unachievable by man, but there are times where it's just... yeah. Now, let me explain my thoughts. Right off the bat, no tomfoolery, this part has incredible highs where it becomes my absolute favorite part overall. But, big but, there's a lot of, well, there's a good portion of where I do think it's straight up not good. Not good is harsh, but definitely not preferable to me, I'd say.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Regardless, let's get a bit into it. It's a big tone shift compared to the first 3 parts because it takes place in Morio. Very akin to Persona 4's Inaba, small town where everybody knows each other and so on. but with a big mystery lurking underneath. Man, as a Persona 4 enjoyer, I was genuinely surprised that it was very Persona 4 coded. Not to mention the obvious Adachi and Kira comparison. So, safe to say that Yoshikage Kira was the second factor of why I love this part so much. In fact, he carried this part.
私の名はキラヨシカゲ、年齢33歳、自宅は森王町北東部の別荘地帯にあり、結婚はしていない。仕事は亀有チェーン店の会社員で、毎日遅くとも夜8時までには帰宅する。
Well, he carried it alongside Josuke, I would say. I was pleasantly surprised that Josuke ended up being so great despite the first look I saw of him. I didn't like him.
Brother,
But with the backstory of his yee-ass haircut, I kinda respected it. But truly what made me love him was his overall writing. Josuke is definitely up there with Joseph, although Joseph squeaks out a win because of Joseph. As for Mario, the people there during the first half of the show is all build up, and it's just finding a stand user and then finding them. And then most of the time they join you, which I just didn't like. The first half of part 4 felt so off to me. It felt like a Yakuza sub-story, but not in a good way. I can't explain it. I straight up was a bit bored during a lot of the first half. While I did have a chuckle here and there, it was one of those, haha.
Yo, Angelo.
あれねえ、こんな岩あったっけ？
ああ、最初はこんな風じゃなかったけどな。
Regardless, my main issue, despite the pacing, is the cast. Not Josuke, but the others. So let's hop into that. Okuyasu is a lovable idiot that you've seen 17,000 times already. I get it, and I get that he has one of the most broken stands in the series, but he is held back by being a kindergartner IQ equivalent. I get it. But despite that, I really didn't like him much. Probably my least favorite JoJo. I'm really sorry. Zahando is cool though.
東方丈介、お前はこの西村奥安のザ・ハンドが決意。
Koichi. Fuck me, I hate Koichi so much. Oh, I hate his squeaky ass voice explaining more about what's happening in the fight. God, he's my least favorite in this part. He's my least favorite character in this whole part. It's so annoying. He is so annoying. But he's saved by Echo's Act 3 being so fucking funny.
Act 3. Okay, master. Let's kill the whole beach.
And I guess his power being interesting. He has his moments, but I just don't like him. Jotaro got nerfed heavily and along the next parts as well, but he does do some stuff and has a bit more personality compared to 3. Same goes with 6, but we'll get there. Also, to expand on that a little bit, Jotaro didn't actually get nerfed when it comes to abilities, so he gains the fucking time stop from Dio. But I feel like he got nerfed mentally because goddamn, Jotaro should not have been struggling with a fucking rat. or the biggest complaint I have that oh my god, might as well mention this. This is unscripted right now, but way in the Red Hot Chili Peppers episode, when Okuyasu speaks with Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jotaro and the gang just calmly walk to him instead of, you know, running. Like, what? Part 3, Jotaro would have done more there, I'm not gonna lie. That pissed me off, but okay. Back to the script. I also forgot to mention Rohan. I think Rohan is great. I get he's a self-insert, but I don't mind. And I think Heaven's Door is one of my favorite Part 4 stands.
Heaven's Door! Remove his ability to come!
As for the overall stance quality and design, surprise surprise, I think they're much better in here than 3. They get progressively better with each part, especially with Part 5. My personal favorite stands from Part 4 are Crazy Diamonds,
Crazy Diamond! Going down!
Heaven's Door.
Remove his ability to...
And as for the enemies, Enigma is Kino.
ただの白い紙だぜ。
And Killer Queen, obviously. Though I will say, Killer Queen's design is not something. It is something I do not particularly like. The ability is cool, but I don't like the cat look. That's the thing. Speaking of Kira.
私の名はキラヨシカゲ。
Kira is someone I'm going to glaze up until the end of the time. You know how in the MGS video, which you should watch, please fucking watch it. I love that video. I said the most impact I had was with MGS2's ending. Well, for the JoJo parts, Kira is the biggest impact. He not only carried the part he's in, but he also is flat out the best villain, not just in JoJo, but definitely among my overall favorite villains of all time. His demeanor, his theme song.
We can't just turn around and go.
All the scenes he's in, and the small teasers before he actually gets revealed, it's peak. I love his stand ability when he killed Shigechi. Oh wait, I didn't mention Shigechi. That who cares? I was so amazed. He's just so good. But then the first fight happens. He barely loses, but gets away with a new identity, and it's back to square one for the game. It's so good. It's so good. Holy shit, I loved it. It's such a tonal shift from McDonald's fast food boredom to literal Kino. I haven't even mentioned any of the openings yet, so I'll mention it at the end. But right now, when the theme changes to Chase and then Great Days, and then Bites the Dust version at the end, it's just solidifying Kira as the GOAT. I love him so much. He and Josuke carry this part from a 7 out of 10 to a 9.5. It's just so good. Him wanting a normal life but doing what he's doing is just so good. Also, he got an erection due to Mona Lisa.
画集で見た時ですね。あれ初めて見た時、なんていうかその下品なんですが、勃起しちゃいましてね。
You what?
Finally, the openings and outros. Should have said it immediately, but whatever. First off, Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town is a very good opening. I'd say it's A tier, maybe even S. Better than all of 3's and 1's openings. Chase. Chase is apparently supposed to be one of the openings that people didn't like before, as far as I read online, and I genuinely don't understand why. I think Chase is really fucking good. It's A+. But then, whoo boy, Great Days. Great Days was to me on par with Bloody Stream when I first finished. However, since a lot of time passed and I realized that Great Days actually dethroned it after a while. I can listen to Great Days on loop for an hour, while Bloody Stream I can listen to on loop maybe 5 times. Visually, however, Bloody Stream kinda better, but musically, Great Days is just
perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
And the best part, the Bites the Dust version. Let the voice of love take you higher. As for the outro, it's great. I really like that song. It's not Walk Like an Egyptian or Roundabout, but I'd say it's a solid beat here. So, there we go. Part 4. Part 4 could have been peak fiction, but to me the first half was really bizarre. Had Kira showed up earlier, or had they had deeper stand users, or just a better cast, it would have been good. At its worst, it's a 7 out of 10, maybe even like a 6.5, but at its best, it's a 9.5. So I give it an 8.5, barely edging out Part 3 due to Kira. Without Kira and Josuke, it would probably be on par, if not worse than Part 1. Diamond is Unbreakable was definitely an experience I won't forget. At the bare minimum, even if the first part of it was very slow, once I got to the good stuff, it basically stayed on the good stuff. Now, it's finally time for the part I was most excited for, even before starting the marathon. Golden Wind.
Vocal percussion on a whole nother level, coming from my mind. Vocal percussion on a whole nother level, coming from my mind.
And now we get to Golden Wind. Man oh man, the one I was the most hyped about. And well, did it live up to the hype? This time let's start off with the setting before diving into the openings and so on. It's basically a mafia movie taking place in Italy, really. The entire premise is just slowly working their way up to the boss of Passion and then game ending him so that Giorno and Bucciarati can actually change the system, really. Now then, the openings. Fighting Gold is, in my humble opinion, stuck between B and A tier. Upon first hearing it, I was kinda disappointed, but over time it grew on me, similar to the second one.
Fighting
Now then, Fighting Gold is great, but the main sauce, the main controversy, lies in the second opening, Trader's Requiem. A few of my IRL friends were excited to hear my thoughts on it, and it was bad. Now, plenty of time has passed, and yes, the opening grew on me. While I think this opening isn't loop-worthy like all of 4's openings or Bloody Stream, I'd put it on the C or B tier. With a big caveat called the Giorno version. The Diavolo interjection is okay, but the Giorno version is genuine cinema. So yes, Trader's Requiem was undoubtedly my least favorite when I first heard it. I have experienced character development by now, and I do place it in the mid-echelon alongside Stand Proud and Sonochino Sadame. Out of the two openings though, I think that Fighting Gold is better. I'll mention the outros at the end of the section, so let's begin with the actual Part 5. So Part 5, as mentioned, definitely lived up to the hype. Now, was I biased? Yes, I was. However, the biggest issue I have with this part, well, I'll mention it shortly, Let's start off with the cast. I appreciated the setting, so the cast had some good potential, starting off with the protag, Giorno Giovanna. To me, Giorno is a great protagonist that could have been the best if he had a bit more personality. Don't get me wrong, he isn't boring. I've read a lot that people think he's boring, and I just disagree. The only issue I have with him is he barely has any comedic moments. I swear even Jonathan had funny moments. Jonah is probably the smartest character in the whole series, and he is dripped out so good. Him being the son of Dio but not really, is so confusing because how the hell does it work? Regardless, I think Giorno is a great protagonist, albeit lesser than Joseph and Josuke. He's basically in the middle. I absolutely love his stand, both the normal and Requiem versions. And, well, I'll mention something regarding his personality though. The first 2 episodes show him basically pulling persuasion and pickpocketing checks on everyone and everything, which shows his wit in that manner. But after Bruno joins, he does feel like he takes a back seat. Although a much, much better version of Jotaro's issue. Now then, Bruno. My GOAT. As of now, writing this script, and since finishing, I had both of my social media accounts profile pics be Bruno. I fucking love this man so much, it's not even homo.
何をやったってしくじるもんなのさ。ゲス野郎はな。アリーベ・デルチ。
He is to me my absolute favorite non-protagonist character. I love his personality, I love his stand, I love his theme, I love his death, and I love his actual death. Genuinely, he beat out Polnareff as non-protagonist favorite. And you know what the thing is? I feel like Bruno might actually be the main protagonist of 5, kind of like how Polnareff was in part 3. Now the others. Mista. Mista is fucking great. Mista took me a bit to take a liking to, but by the end I'd say he's earned it being alive. I love Mista, but I do hate his design, not gonna lie. His stand is cool as well, and genuinely a one of a kind.
Shades on Apple with the glasses, bro say cause he a savage.
Narancia. Oh man, Narancia. I thought Narancia was a girl. Well, certainly got impaled like a girl.
Why would you say that?
That was too far. Anyways, besides not liking Narancia's design, Narancia is great. I loved Aerosmith. I absolutely loved all of the fights that Aerosmith was in, and genuinely thought that Narancia was a great cast member. However, I heavily disliked the way the death was handled. And by handled, I mean I have no idea what happened, but we'll get to that. Abakio. I think Abakio was an understandable hater with an extremely cool stand, but ultimately he was good enough. I'd say he's middle of the cast's quality. I mean, now we get to the worst two, I would say. Trish and Fugo. Fugo, I've read what the entire gist of him was and why he was canned, why he made that choice. But it still doesn't change the fact that without Purple Haze feedback, and what should I say about it, okay? Even without it, he does nothing and I really don't care about him. He has a cool stand, but it only does what it does once, and that's it. Again, I get why, but it's a waste. And Trish, wasted character, and it's an important character too. The fucking daughter of Diavolo awakens to her persona. Wait, I actually just said persona instead of stand. Holy hell, I'm cooked. Anyways, she awakens and has one solo fight with Notorious B.I.G. and that's it. Never again until the end where she gets shit on by Diavolo and then she pulls a Giorno on him. If she had like 3 more fights, hell 2 more fights, cool. But she feels like a Mary Sue. She's not bad, but she's not great. It's not even good. Overall, I'd say part 5 has the best main cast. Well, actually, now that I think of it, Fugo and Trish kind of ruined it. If they were better, then yes, they would be the best cast, but I'm comparing them to the current best cast, which is the Stardust Crusaders. And I think the quality of Bruno, Giorno, Narancia, and Mista don't match up to the Crusaders because they're held back by the Deadbeats. Still, second place I would say, close to peak, just held back by Trish and Fugo. But yes, this part especially feels like it's more about the group themselves rather than just the pro tag. Now, I might as well mention the big bad, Diavolo.
Diavolo, you fucking apple I have no idea what you are talking about. This is my restaurant. If I want to do my linguine, I want to do my linguine my way, my way. You fucking bitch. You put the linguine with a bucket of toast bread. The cost for such an act. Raw spaghetti laser beam. Oregano.
Diavolo is my least favorite thing about Golden Wind.
Shocked gasp, someone feigns questions asked at Parliament.
Like, I'm really sorry. I not only dislike his design, his stand is comically bad and so lazy. And when I first saw it was another time-related stand, I was so pissed because that is such a lazy way to make someone broken. We'll get to Gucci later, don't worry. But the thing is, I don't know if this has a name, so I'll call it expectation syndrome. When you have expectations of something due to its name or something. I think the best example is when I first played Bloodborne and I saw on the wiki there was an area called the Nightmare Frontier. I was expecting it to look way different than what it actually looks like. I was expecting something like Volnir's Arena or some other stuff, but whatever the hell. So yeah, as for King Crimson, I heard about the stand due to the name, and I had a hunch it was going to be like a blood-based stand or something. Do you see my conundrum now? Even still, the time stuff is so lazy. Blood can be overpowered as well. It could be used extremely creatively, but no, we got Epitaph and saves coming, basically. No, actually, we got Epitaph and pressing 15 seconds skip on YouTube. Whatever. Point being, I dislike Diavolo and King Crimson. I think he does his job as being a mob boss well, but subjectively, I think he is the worst villain. He's obsessed with erasing his identity, and let's be real, if he didn't try so hard, he probably would have stayed anonymous. For all the harm he also caused, his death was, well, I would say deserved, but let's be real, no one deserves that.
We are trapped in a loop!
So yeah, Golden Wind. Besides the main cast and villain, there's the side villains, and I'ma be real, I think they are the best side group. So many good fights. The Hitman team is, on their own, I think the best first half of the whole JoJo, even including part 6. Frozone.
Where is my super suit?
And the Grateful Dead guy were my absolute favorites. Oh wait, and Green Day. Holy shit, that guy might be more evil than Dio. Anyhow, as mentioned, the stand fights in this part are just genuine cinema. There's so many great ones. Anything including Aerosmith, Giorno, and Bruno. Bruno's fights, I think, are the pinnacle of choreography. But yes, Golden Wind is incredible to me. It lacks a certain oomph, which truly makes it stand out. To showcase what I mean, part 4 was very mid, right? But Kira, on his own, carries it from being mid to being the best part. Part 5 doesn't really have anything that carries it that hard. And you know why? It's because it barely has any flaws. It's just consistency. There isn't a single point where I was bored. Sure, maybe the talking tongue and shark stand, but that was just mid. There was no rock, paper, scissors stand. Well, there's also the babyface stand, which was weird, but not bad. Part 5 is just extremely fun without any big flaws, unlike 3 and 4. But at the same time, it doesn't change my life like Part 4's second half. You know? I have no idea if I'm making sense to you, but this part is extremely good and fun regardless. The ending, I will say, was a bit of a sour one. I really thought it was sudden. There was no reveal at the end of Mista seeing Bruno die himself, and, you know, Trish didn't do anything. And they brought Polnareff just so he gets bodied by Diavolo and turns into a turtle. Glad he survived, but genuinely not sure why he's there to begin with besides the arrow. Could have just made the arrow show up somewhere, I guess. At least Silver Chariot Requiem is the coolest stand design in the series. Yes, I am dying on this hill. Easily the coolest design. Well, might as well this is not scripted, but I might as well mention what I mean about the ending. What I think about the ending. The whole ending, the last several episodes of the show, I think were great, but I think were the weakest of the parts. Finally, the outros. Seeing Mista get shot by his gun, seeing insanely emotional moments, and then getting hit by a "Every time I close my eyes, I wake up feeling so horny." It's just so stupid. I fucking hated it at the start, but by the end I think it's so bad it's good. Modern Crusaders is a solid one too. Nothing beats Walk Like an Egyptian in my opinion, even Roundabout. Overall, Part 5 was incredible, but lacked life-changing aspects. I think an apt comparison is my MGS Marathon, which you should watch, equivalent of MGS 3. Watch the video like I said. MGS 3 was without many flaws and was just extremely good, but at the same time it lacked the impact that 2 and Rising had. That's how I feel about Part 5. Finally, I'll mention my favorite stands. Part 5 had an insane roster of great fights with barely any questionable ones. Well, not to say there was none, Talking Head and the Babyface, but the best ones, they're mostly the cast and the mini-villains. Sticky Fingers, Aerosmith, Sex Pistols, Black Sabbath, Green Day, and Oasis are among the best, or my favorite. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Objectively the best part. Diavolo mainly lowers it from being a 10, and I guess Giorno not being funny. But Golden Wind definitely lived up to the hype and even surpassed it.
What the fuck? Bro, chill, bro. Fuck. Bro, chill, bro. Yo, what? Chill, bro. Yo, what? Bro, stop doing that, bro. Bro, stop doing that, bro. You shut up. Doing that, bro. You shut up. You shut up, bro. Stop talking. You shut up.
So now we get to the final part. The one I was told was very iffy. Stone Ocean.
I love the kind of woman that will actually just kill me. You know, when I left the house today, I was thinking, damn, I really hope some hot chick paints my brains all over some fucking hallway.
Now you see, that scene alone was a great first impression of Stone Ocean. It was really good, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So then, Stone Ocean. On the 1st of August I started part 1, and on the 1st of November I finished part 6. It was a 3-month journey to finally get to the final animated part. Let's hop right in. Well, actually no. First, an important thing. Stone Ocean was served in 3 batches. It took a whole year for 38 episodes to drop, and I had the privilege of watching this without having to wait a whole year. Some people didn't. It will not impact the score, fortunately, but I'm saying this is kind of trash.
What are you? An idiot sandwich.
I think a month would have been decent, if they really had to do it. Over the course of 3 months would have been preferable. 1 whole year is laughable. So I hope that Steel Ball Run doesn't get ruined by Netflix like Stone Ocean was harmed. But regardless, I was lucky, so let's get into it for real. Stone Ocean is extremely weird. Bizarre even. I think a good comparison is 3 and 4. Before saying anything deep, this part has the character issues of 4, but without the pacing issues and being too long like 3. What I mean by that is this. Right off the bat, I do actually kind of like the setting. The prison setting was a neat change and opened up some contained things. Not to mention the villain being someone who is a contender from the start of the show, unlike, well, basically every other villain. Kiro shows up the latter half, Diavolo shows up the last third, Dio has minuscule scenes every so often, so the villain this time around, Pucci, actually had consistent presence, be it in the shape of his stand Whitesnake or himself. Now the meat and potatoes. Jolene Cujo, the protagonist of this part, she's really fucking good. Genuinely, I think that she's on par with Joseph and Josuke, and maybe, just maybe even better than them. I'll need a little bit more time to decide, but man, she is so good. Now keep in mind, I'm a horny individual.
Every time I close my eyes, wake up feeling so horny.
But this is, even without the hot woman bias, genuinely think she's got the smarts of Giorno, the funniness of Joseph, the compassion of Josuke, and the stubbornness of Jotaro. Hell, she's even noble like Jonathan at the end with her sacrifice. That's all to say, she even has probably the most underpowered protagonist stand, and yet she uses it to her full extent. I love this woman. Now about her design, bro, she looks so good. Green color bias disregarded. I love absolutely everything about her, from her design to her personality, to her personalities, and all the way to her character development. Like again, I think she might actually be the best Joestar, objectively and subjectively. I've seen plenty of people on Reddit, yes I know, agony, plenty of people on Reddit say woman is bad, and lately I've been whole math build, but even still I disagree.
I'm sorry, Mr. Whitaker, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
I said God help me.
I think Jolene is top 2 protagonists, if not the best. I'll get a bit deeper into Pucci after I go through the cast like last time, but spoiler alert, I do not like the cast. That's what I meant about the part 4 character writing comparison. I think following up Golden Wind, Stone Ocean's main cast besides Jolene and Pucci is not very good. They're not bad, they're just not very memorable. Aramis has a very situational stand that barely does much. Her character on her own is okay, but she has way too little to go off of that I just don't really care. I think she's like a C+, maybe a B tier. I'm sorry to Aramis fans, but I just didn't like her. Not just her though, Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters has a lot of fans I think, and I just can't really see why. Design is okay, the stand is cool, but not utilized well. I mean, after Jolene fights her and wins her over, she just turns into wished outcome Mista by shooting water at the enemy. Like what? Why not just, during the fights, why not just transform into her original form or whatever, the gooey form. Go into stand form and you'll be able to do so much more. Since it's all about Plankton, something that is probably strong. FF is bland, and it's supposed to be a comedic relief character, so I'm kinda baffled. Also, her death was the most dumb thing ever. It was so predictable. Weather Report is someone that isn't actually as bad as the others, due to his importance in the story. His stand, even before fully being revealed, was quite nice, but once his memory comes back, that's really cool. One of the coolest stands ever.
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
His backstory was rather questionable and bad to a certain extent, which is shared with Pucci, but again, well, I'll get to that in a bit. Then we got Anasui, Anastasia or whatever. So Anasui, I really like Diver Down, it's a cool stand, but like Anasui as a character, the only thing I'll remember of him is him just being horny for Jolene. As a character, he really doesn't do much, which is a shame. I don't dislike him because of his stand and the fact that he's just like me for real. But he's definitely not anything special. Now then, Emporium. Emporium is a character that I, truth be told, didn't give a shit about up until the end. He went through hell, literally everyone died, he was the only survivor, and he went to town on Pucci with Weather Report's stand. That moment, and the final episode seeing alternate universe Jolene and the others, that hurt. That was painful as hell. Now, let's move on to the next one. Pucci. Pucci oh Pucci. You're not as good as Ki, but you're definitely up there. It's safe to say that I think that Pucci is the second favorite antagonist for me. dethroning the Pillarmen and just being better than Dio himself, and obviously Diavolo.
I spawn die! 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 Spawn die!
Poochie is an absolute gem, and he does what he does because he thinks it's for the greater good, but not just that, he basically succeeds. The only thing he failed at was Emporio being alive, but let's be real, you wouldn't really expect that baseball kid to have that OP stand randomly at the end after resetting the universe. It's genuinely applaudable. The only thing I don't like about Poochie was his motivation and backstory. How he paid the KKK to separate his sister from his biological brother, instead of being, hey, can you break up or something? Or go straight to him and tell him that. Like, sure, he might get exiled from the church and whatnot, but guess what? He won't if no one shares. I feel like Weather Report might have listened and broke up without any need of racist KKK members to kill the guy that's the same color as them. That was just flat out bad. But Poochie himself, devoting himself to his cause of just making everyone happier with Made in Heaven, you gotta admit there's some good stuff. Regarding his stand, the elephant in the room, I mentioned how time is lazy and yada yada yada. But Poochie gets a pass because he basically has 3 different stands. First is White Snake being memory discs and stand discs. I think it's pretty good, pretty cool. Sea Moon is where I think he truly shines. Sea Moon controlling gravity, which, let's be real, I think could be a really good final antagonist stand power. Gravity is everywhere, and as showcased it'll almost be invincible. So the fact that Made in Heaven is a time fast forward isn't the end of the world. Again, it kinda sucks, for being a lazy way to make him OP, but also it makes sense for his character and the whole universe resets. While Diavolo, on the other hand, it makes 0 fucking sense. So Kira goes back in time due to Bites the Dust, which also makes sense for the character and the power. But yeah, Poochie was phenomenal. He wasn't as good as, but I do think him being an actual follower and friend of Dio with an actual goal, that was more or less achieved and with consistent time in the spotlight, unlike other antagonists. That makes him almost the best. Poochie and Jolene were truly the best parts of Stone Ocean, similar to Diamond is Unbreakable, Josuke and Kira. Now then, the intros and outros, since I almost forgot. Starting with Stone Ocean, I think it's a good intro, really, but it's not goated. I think it's very loopable, but it lacks a bit of oomph. Visually, by the way, it's probably my favorite opening. Holy hell, it's Kino. Overall, B+ tier. It's not up with the other 3 Part 4 openings and on their own, and also Bloody Stream. Now then, before controversy, Distant Dreamer took me a while to appreciate, but by now I think it fits Stone Ocean a good chunk, and it also helps that I like a few of Duffy's songs. As an outro, I'd say it's an A tier. Finally, something that might trigger people, but unlike Trader's Requiem, it didn't grow on me. Heaven's Falling Down, oh boy. It's unfortunately my least favorite JoJo opening. Overall, it's the weakest JoJo opening, but it is far from bad. And I like the Poochie version at least, because of the nostalgia, but I think it doesn't help it that much. Nevertheless, Part 6 openings were a mixed bag, but the outro was great.
Let's be honest, I never cried to music. I would never cry to a song, let's be honest. I am a...
Now, I'll also mention Part 6's weird complaint. There are some great stands in here, but there's also some weird situational ones.
Oh, shit! Alright!
I will say the quality was a bit lowered compared to Golden Wind, but there were more blunders than hits. But overall, Stone Ocean had quite a few great stands. Okay, this is future AbyssFarer. I was wrong. After looking into the stands of Part 6, I think they're actually better, if not on par with Part 5's. There's really only a few that were meh, so yeah. I owe you an apology, Part 6. I wasn't familiar with your game. Anyhow, Part 6, that should be it, right? Setting, cast, villain, openings, outros, and stands. I guess to truly finish this section, once again I'll say what I think of the ending. Pucci winning, but losing to Emporia was cinema. And seeing that everyone actually survived because of that, and they were reborn, it's very bittersweet. I think Part 6's ending is divisive, but overall I loved it. I have no idea how the next parts will be. They're in a new universe, so I'm rather curious. Steel Ball Run will be exciting. So yeah, Part 6 overall rating. I give it an 8 out of 10, much like Stardust Crusaders. Like I said, I think this part doesn't have the bloat like 3 does, but it lacks the compelling writing that the cast from 3 has, and the absolute peak of 4's highs. But Pucci does almost get to those highs, and Jolene, well, just like Part 4, it's really just the villain and the protag that carry the part. Overall objective ranking is 8 out of 10, but with Jolene and Pucci, I think it's between an 8.5 and a 9. And that's it. Man, that's actually it, after 3 months. And so, after so much time, we finally get to the conclusion. 4 months of JoJo. From parts 1 to 6, and rewatching part 1. Am I ready to yap about what I think of this series? Yes, I am. I think we'll immediately start off with the quicker thing, which was the part 1 rewatch, so let's get into it. So, part 1. After experiencing the entire series, part 1 is pretty good still. In fact, I'd say the rating went up by like a 0.3, so from a 7.5 to a 7.8. The reason being, it's just so fucking fast with no filler bullshit. It does what it does really well. This rewatch did have a lesser issue, however, which is I like Jonathan a little bit less this time around because I experienced every Joestar and, well, he's too simple. Effective but simple. But getting ahead of myself. Since I won't have much to talk about the part 1 rewatch, I did write down a few things while I was watching each episode, so let's just read out what I wrote and speed run through this. Starting with episode 1. I wrote that the lines of the JoJo art style were basically non-existent in this part, or at least they weren't as noticeable as the other parts. As noticeable as the other parts. I wrote down that it's funny that everything went to shit just due to Dio's dad robbing a corpse, leading to the universe being reset. From that to Made in Heaven. Pretty funny. Anyways, Dio is still the best healer ever. Genuinely. And I forgot about the 7-year time skip after the first episode. By the way, there'll be a lot of forgetting in this video part. So episode 2. Dio and JoJo being friendly and stuff at the start, but then Dio's thoughts come out and it's obvious he's doing a long con. Again, I love his pettiness in part 1, and I do still think that part 1 Dio is better than part 3. Even though the part 3 Dio only shines at the end, you know, during the fights. But overall, I think part 1 Dio is much better. The slow poisoning of George is a good scene, because then JoJo pieces stuff together and has some solid moments. Also, he made him swear on Dio's dad's name, and Dio was too prideful to do that. Which led to him being, you know... The Speedwagon scene is still awesome, because he sees Jonathan as the supreme gentleman that he is. Dio being drunk was goofy, and then him getting bodied by the vampire random guy is still a great scene. Then the episode 3 rolls around, we have Dad's death, stupid, like all things. And then, I completely forgot where Ree came from, but that's where. The fight between them two in the burning building is just so good. I like it a lot. It has good tension too, you have no idea what's gonna happen. And finally you have Goodbye JoJo. Episode 4. As for episode 4, I finally see my main man Zeppeli again after 4 months. He's still goated. Now, a side tangent. The mask. I wrote down if the mask shows up in the rebooted continuity, or at least something with a similar effect. Same thing for the Stand Arrow equivalent, because I do love the overlying mask plot point through all the parts. I just like having a central connecting plot point, if that makes sense. So I was wondering if there's something that connects 7, 8, 9, like there was with 1 through 6, basically. The tunnel, the scene with the guy in the tunnel explains every JoJo fight. Think of what your opponent thinks. It's like that fruit by the foot meme. Episode 5. I completely forgot about the Poco section, just in general forgot about him. I also forgot about the Summon Knights and their whole backstory. Tarkus and Buford do have great fights. Episode 6, we have winning against Buford was kind of wholesome because he earned his respect, and it reminded me of the Caesar versus Wamu fight in part 2. They use leaves as a glider. That's stupid. I completely forgot about that. Poco has a decent arc, and Zeppeli's incoming death foreshadowing was very, very well done. Again, I love Zeppeli, my man. I can't wait to do the tier list. Then we got episode 7. Zeppeli's death was great, giving Jonathan the laughs of his Hammond and then sweeps Tarkus. Then Tom Petty joins. Oh yeah, and seeing Strizo and the other guy knowing about part 2 Strizo is funny. Episode 8. Doobie is kinda Bloodborne Forbidden Woods coded with the snakes in his head. Jonathan says yada yada daze, which is got me off guard, not gonna lie. Forgot about that. Dyer immediately getting bodied by Dio. Dio giving Jonathan his fluids. Pause. Yeah, anyways, the Dio versus JoJo second fight was pretty good with the freezing and melting out plays. But besides that, that's that. And then we have episode 9. The final one. Yeah, I forgot there's sound effects in the final intro. Genuinely. But yeah, now that I've paid attention to every single one of the intros, now it, now I noticed it. Anyhow, Erina is, I think, the best love interest. Suzy-Q is okay, and the others are whatever, if they're even mentioned at all. Then the entire boat scene happens, and everything goes to shit. Jonathan sacrifices himself, and we see Erina hold baby Lisa. And that's it. It's great. Part 1's thoughts improved a little bit, but it's still too short to be great. But it's so fast-paced that I love it. Again, 7.8 out of 10, I would say, from a 7.5 originally. Again, the main thing is, it's better than I remember, but Jonathan is more simple compared to the others, so it's a trade-off. Jotaro is no longer my least favorite Joestar, and that's it, really. Oh yeah, Sonachino Sadame. Sonachino Sadame was really fucking good, but again, I'll do a worst to best ranking of the openings eventually. I don't know. And that's all she wrote. With this, my entire JoJo journey is complete until Steel Ball Run. Here's hoping it won't be in batches. If it is, I think there's a slight chance that I probably won't watch it immediately. And yeah, now the main thing. Despite the ratings I've given to each of them, they're all individually rated. So now I'll rank them from my favorite overall, like combined. My favorites overall are parts 2, 4, second half, and 5. So 2, 5, and 4 second half basically. 4 suffers from the mid syndrome during the first half, but once that passes, it's just consistent peak. Part 2 is just amazing fun with great villains and setting and best Joestar. Part 3 was too long, but it was a great journey with, I think, the best final sets of episodes due to the pure tension the Dio fight exudes. And it also contains my absolute favorite cast, not counting Jotaro. If Part 3 was 15 episodes shorter, I do think it would probably be in my top 3. Part 4 suffered with the main cast besides Kira and Josuke, like I've mentioned many times already. Part 5 suffered with Diavolo being the worst and Giorno being average. Part 6 was similar to Part 4 in the sense of Jolene and Pucci carrying the entire part's deadweight casts. Anyways, the part ranking from allegedly worst to best would be this. 2 being my most favorite, followed by 4 second half, and second half only, followed by 5, followed by 6 being on par with 3, and then the worst being 1, and the actual worst being the first half of 4. Favorite Joe star is Joseph, but tied with Jolene. Favorite villain, obviously Kira, but Pucci close second. The best cast is tied between the Crusaders and Bucciarati's gang, but more so on the Crusaders. And the best fights and stands, obviously Part 5. Part 6 had good situational stands and creativity, but I do kinda miss Part 3's Arcana cards. I feel like that gave it the Persona feeling I kinda liked. So yes. Now the important thing. Is JoJo my favorite anime I watched so far of the 7? Most importantly, does it beat out Samurai Champloo and Kill la Kill as my favorite anime so far? Kill la Kill, yes, because as incredible as it was, the fan service was too much even for someone as horny as me. But Champloo is just so incredible. Despite me not liking the final scene and the ending, the characters were amazing. The fights were smooth, the aesthetic was immaculate, the vinyl transitions were so unique. Everything was great. I'm not even a lo-fi hip-hop fan, but even the soundtrack was incredible. So it's hard to say, but I do think that JoJo edges it out, just in the sheer fact that there's just more episodes and it's just sky-high insane. So yes, I would say JoJo barely, and I mean barely, edges out Champloo. But that's a matter of preference, and not just that, they're polar opposites. So yes, JoJo is my favorite anime so far, and probably for a while. The next anime I watch will be the mainstream popular ones, just so I can decide what's actually peak. Yeah, stuff like Death Note and Attack on Titan. There's also Space Dandy that I want to watch, because Bebop and Chaploo are incredible. There's also Gintama, which seems insanely silly. But let's be real here, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated is gonna be the next show I watch, and it's a rewatch after 10 years. After that, starting next year will be time for The Boys. Then, there'll be Dexter potentially. So we have plenty of time until my next anime. Again, hell, Steel Ball Run might be my next anime at this point. So yeah, all in all, this was an incredible experience. God, I hope this video doesn't flop like the second part did. Jesus Christ, I'm so mad about that. Yeah, that's all. See ya and bye-bye.